they're in a bubble but they chose to be in a bubble, especially now. So in theory, they're probably about 5 years behind of what's
Right.
going on.
That really smart, bright people are like, I just want to be around people who want to win, who want to
Yeah.
go succeed. Like, I don't want to sit next to somebody who's going to tell me all the time how we can't do something anymore. Like, I'm done with that. All right, everybody. Well, I have the one and only Mr. Mike Crowley, longtime friend, fan. I feel like I've known you for a long time, and I don't really remember how I know you or where we met.
Where we met the first time? Good question. But
Was it Michael, Jason Cassavant or
it
something? I don't
it,
know.
it might have been one of his to start, definitely.
Yeah,
Or one of the other ones where you had a vendor booth that,
yeah.
we first crossed
One
paths.
of the other
One of the other ones.
events. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's how cool we are. We go to insurance events.
Listen, I kind of miss him. It's been a while since I've been bouncing around to him. Business it took precedent, family took precedent, but
Yeah.
it's always good to catch up with you.
Absolutely. So Michael has been, utilizing some of our online resources, been kind of a friend for a long time. So maybe Michael, you could just share a little bit, like tell us about your agency, sort of your background.
Yes.
Did you ever think you'd be an insurance agent?
The way that I probably present myself, it's kind of how probably my son is right now, where he like was born like he's coming into the agency, and that wasn't the case for me. I didn't probably determine that I was going to come into the family business until halfway through college.
Wow.
When I realized that this is something that I could do, this kind of fit my personality, and really wanted to give it a go. But before that, obviously I'm a family agency, third generation. We're in Syracuse, New York, and most just a PNC agency. Loving the industry, regardless of the market, and just striving to keep improving every day.
Well, we were just chatting a little bit too. I think, the market is difficult, but there's also opportunity in it as
Huge.
well. Similar to like when COVID hit, which I don't even like saying the C word, but like there are agencies that really took it as an opportunity, like, hey, how could we utilize this
Yeah.
to expand? And then there were some that were, I call it like either you're surviving or you're thriving, right? The ones that are surviving in the hard market are, oh, this underwriter, oh, this company, oh, this, all that. I was like, why don't you look at your P&L though? You're growing.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a brilliant industry from that perspective.
Absolutely. And I said probably in the last week or two, at least a handful of times, that the bar is extremely low in the insurance industry, because the ones that aren't doing anything, they're just lowering the bar. And the ones that are thriving. And they're thriving regardless of how or what they're trying to build. And I think that's the unique part about this industry is you can still have a local Main Street agency, or if you want to go large and get national and be in 50 states, you can do that relatively easier with the use of technology and with the tools and the softwares and things that are out there. And it doesn't matter because you can be very profitable in both of them. And it's all based on the legacy you want to build and have. And I think that's the unique part about this industry, which is fun. But there's less and less of us that I feel like are thriving, and more of them that are stumbling because they didn't look and invest in things like APP and some of these tools that are out there to learn how to handle and pivot when things change. And
Yeah.
that's a huge advantage for some of us that have pivoted.
It's so interesting you say that because I feel like I hear that from a lot of agents, but like our client base is probably a different profile,
Thriving ones.
right? So then like I'll go to like a PIA or Big I event and speak, and some of the people who come up to me are like, I've never heard about a virtual assistant before. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. I'm like, because I've had mine for 7 years, right? Like, and I think about how many agents are maybe not as connected to the community. Like, but you have been, right? We were just chatting about how we haven't seen each other in a minute, but like, that's a really interesting thought process of how many agencies may just be they don't listen to a podcast or they don't go to some of the.
They're in a bubble. They're in a bubble, but they chose to be in a bubble, especially now. So in theory, they're probably about 5 years behind of what's
Right.
going on, right?
Right.
First it's what's a CRM, and then what's the virtual assistant. They've never even probably thought of AI for a tool in their agency, and they won't for a few more years. And that's where, regardless of the tools and the things that are there to help an agency thrive, just in general,
Yeah.
people are getting, and we were just talking about this, people are getting frustrated and tired in this business. And
Yeah.
it's showing in the basic customer service skills And what that does is it just opens the doors for ones that, return a phone call, answer the phone.
Well, that's the low bar, right?
That's the low bar
That's
I'm
the low
talking.
bar that we're talking about. Yeah.
Educating the non-educated insurance consumer, because people aren't doing that.
Somebody once told me a long time ago that there's two different types of agents. There's people who run their business like an agent and people who run their agency like a business owner.
Mhm.
And I can't like you almost like can't unsee some of that. So some of our clients will buy like $1 million or $1.5 million premium book of business. And in my head, I'm like, how, like, and it'll be like that person's been in business for 20, 25 years. And like my brain can't compute. Like when I think about the overhead on that, the cost, they have like a staff member and I'm just between a management system, I'm like, oh my gosh, like
And
I
brick and
wouldn't have
mortar.
held on that long. Like I would, it's almost to me like how did that in my mind like how did that happen? But then
Yeah.
there's a ton of them out there too.
Yeah, it's like they were the that's the lifestyle agency, right?
Yeah.
When people talked about
Is
a
it even a
lifestyle
good
agency,
lifestyle? Like when you do the
not
math.
now.
Yeah.
No, I mean that was the lifestyle agent in 1984, and they
Mhm.
probably haven't grown since then. And that's where I think that's where the shift is, right? Because those ones are still sitting there and they're probably struggling, but they don't know what to do with themselves.
Right. No,
We're not we've put everything we had into working here. What am I going to do? And I'm really not going to sell this for the retirement living that I wanted. So why don't I just, let those customers come in, 9 to noon and, pay their premiums in cash. Like, I don't know
or
what
they
to.
all have the owner's cell phone, like they're taking
Yeah.
claims at 2 o'clock on a Sunday, like they can't go anywhere. And a lot of those people, in my mind, have almost over serviced their clients.
Yes.
So like there's some that haven't, and then there's some where it's like they shop them every year, and and they don't have a lot of markets, which is the funnier part because they're a smaller agency. So I'm like, where are you shopping them every year? Like,
We're just bouncing from one to the next,
yeah,
just back and forth between the two that we have. No,
yeah,
and coming from, it's 3-generation family agency, we've gone through those shifts. We've seen those type of clients. We've seen that type of agency. And that was a big shift in some of the things I've done over especially the last 8 to 10 years since I got into more of the day-to-day, operation lead roles. But that's a huge piece of it where it's like you still want to give that relationship.
yeah,
Doesn't need to be the owner's cell phone at 2 o'clock on a Sunday.
right.
You need to find a way to, have your whole staff be able to do it, have the technology be able to do it. But the customer leaves that conversation or that situation still feeling like, oh my God, they care.
Mhm.
I feel educated and I know what the next steps are because somebody told me, versus just being lost like the rest of us feel anytime we look for customer service in anything that we're doing. And it's like you're walking around the big huge department store just looking around going, hello, is there anybody to help me? And so if you can mix the two together, right, you can still mix that customer service, old school customer service
Yeah.
base, but with the new school ability to scale, grow, and handle these things. That's where I feel like there's a huge win, and that's where agencies are doing well.
Well, and I think that we talked a little bit about earlier too. Obviously, we have sort of a staffing shortage crisis.
Mhm.
Everybody calls it something slightly different, but I feel as I was sharing with you like a little bit more optimistic than I've ever felt
Mhm.
before. So what I was sharing with Mike is, in my experience, sometimes like the very seasoned veterans, they have a lot of value, but they also have some prickly points.
Yep.
High level of burnout, not really adopting maybe technology or newer strategies, like very set in their ways, and also too very unwelcoming of new humans. And I say, I'm being very broad based, right? But the burnout is so high. I feel like they have this like hard candy shell that needs a chisel to be like, hey, remember when this was fun?
Yeah.
Like, you
Right.
remember that? And they're just, and some of them, if I'm trying to be like somewhat politically correct, I guess, but are past retirement age but can't retire necessarily, or
Yeah.
your home life isn't one that's like conducive to them wanting to be there all the time, which in my mind are life choices that don't come hang out here all bitter about life either. And there's a lot of like emotion on that. But what I
Yeah.
was sharing with Mike is we have new people coming in, and when I look at the metrics and some of the new people in some of our programs, they're exceeding the veterans because they don't have the head trust. They're not burned out. They're like, okay, I'll follow the script. Okay, I'll use the form. Like, okay, I'll use this piece of technology. Like they just don't know
Yeah.
any different almost. And I don't know, it's cool and refreshing. And you had shared you have some new hires and that it's been
Mhm.
going really well. Maybe you can give everyone just like a little boost of motivation of like, welcome new people in.
Well, you talk about the staffing shortages just for the industry. This has been a conversation for years, and some of the
Yeah.
stuff that I've done here in New York, and just trying to get younger professionals going to speak to high school and college classes, and doing that kind of stuff into the insurance. The reason for that, even years ago, was because of the retirements of a good chunk of the industry.
Yep.
So when agents are looking for new employees and they're looking for shortages, they're still looking for that seasoned person that is trained in insurance. They're all retiring. And the ones that aren't retiring are leaving for a reason. It's either got to be significantly more money or there's other problems that they're not telling you. So like the last three hires we had were non-insurance trained. Actually, last four hires, non-insurance trained roles. Each role was a little bit differently. I barely even advertised that it was an insurance job. Like I literally advertised it for what the role is, what you're doing, and insurance is just the avenue that's
Yeah.
you're in, and obviously it's in the title of where you're working.
Right.
Outside of that, it was focusing in my last one. The title was a director of welcome. The whole job description was written as a receptionist role. Now we've never had a receptionist, and in a day and age where people are going to phone trees, AI chatbots,
Yeah.
AI tools to answer phones, I went the opposite and I went full on receptionist. Why? Because I want the insurance trained professionals not answering the phone
Yeah.
to
Getting
to
interrupted.
getting interrupted all day. So I pivoted and switched.
Yeah.
I had 125 applicants in 1 week. And it was because of the way the job description was written. And I used AI to to write the job description and
Wonderful.
tweaked it to what I needed to do. But what it did is it showed that people aren't shying away from the word insurance. I want to go work in insurance like it's a bad thing, like it's taboo, like in the old days.
Yeah.
And they're
Not sexy,
probably
but stable.
yeah, very stable. And it's, and those that are thriving and growing, it is a huge opportunity to bring those people along with you and they can watch that growth. And that's where I think I've seen some of these last ones really adapt well into our culture is because they're seeing and of course, some of it, I mean, it all comes from the leadership, but they see the growth, they see the excitement that you can do. And again, we're not sitting there focusing like insurance is the product you have to sell and it's boring. You're trying to help people, and the more people you help, the better everybody is. And it's just a cycle that can continue. And our leads don't shut off, and business rolls through the door without even trying. And it's a great problem to have. But like with that, you need people and you need processes. And as long as we keep redefining those, it shouldn't be hard to find new people to fill those roles.
We just completed hiring 3 new people in the US. They're going to start in a few weeks, and
Oh,
then
nice.
3 overseas. And so we're going to have 6 people start, which will be absolute chaos, but
Yep.
there's only one way through it. And so is it easier to do 1 at a time or 6? Well, we're going to find out. But it was so interesting because I have to I pull from the same candidate pool insurance agencies do, but we can just go national. Oh, but by the way, they have to get on an airplane and they have to they have to be like elite thinkers of, to have the experience to come consult with agencies. And I was surprised how many people actually were willing to take pay cuts to come into a company that had a different energy. Like, I feel like the culture in so many agencies is so bad, so toxic, that really smart, bright people are like, I just want to be around people who want to win, who want to go succeed. Like, I don't want to sit next to somebody who's going to tell me all the time how we can't do something anymore. Like, I'm done with that. Like, they want to be around positive people and they want to be around like go-getters, people who are people who embrace AI, not somebody who's just going to just, deal. And I say this kind of tongue in cheek, but a lot of agencies are run by family. And I think sometimes if you're a family run agency, I know you are, Mike, don't treat the agency like your living room. Okay. None of the staff wants to be involved in family spats. And I always like to say, save those for your barbecue. Don't you can't bring them into the agency.
No,
Um,
no. And the leadership's got to show the excitement in it, right?
yeah.
And most people hire too late. They don't hire ahead. They hire when they're drowning and they're frustrated. And when they do that, not necessarily you don't even have time to train. They don't have time to show off that positivity of what it's going to be once you feel caught up, right?
Mhm.
And every market will shift and every change will do. But like if you don't have that set process to be like, no, we're going to do this. You're going to do this in a positive way. They're going to come into that toxic environment. And that's why they're not staying. So, that's where it's, start hiring ahead, use the tools and the trainings and the resources that are available, especially, your online school has been amazing for that. Your content that you guys put out, I feel like sometimes you stalk my brain at what,
You bug your
what I'm,
whole office. It's
yeah,
actually
what I'm thinking about, and then all of a sudden a new blog post or podcast will launch. I'm like, holy crap, that's what I was just thinking about. Now they just laid it out for me.
Yeah, you're not alone, is what I would say.
Well, and honestly, that's because you're in those agencies and you're seeing everybody's problems. Guess what? They're everybody's problems.
They are everybody's problems. And I would say this on the hiring. I just want to give everybody one quick tip. We deal with that a lot. I can't find anybody. Please pay to boost your post on Indeed or LinkedIn. Like, you cannot get away with the free one. Your post is not being seen by anyone. And so it's like one of the funny first things I would do is like, did you pay? And they're like, no. And I'm like, please do.
Well, and pay for the role too.
Yeah, that's
like,
big.
and I think that's a big thing that has changed dramatically within the industry. We're still stuck in what the pay was for certain jobs back 10 years ago. And so you're thinking that that's what it is. And it's like, listen, we're all making more for a reason.
Yeah.
If you're making more, figure a way so that it's easier to get those people and get them bought in so that they
higher
can
caliber people too,
Yes.
that don't have. So it's actually, I'm just laughing because another hire we have coming on is one of our sons of one of our employees is coming on as like an intern to like stuff boxes,
nice.
welcome kits, like just like 5-6 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
Like, and anyway, I was like, okay, so what's Rhode Island minimum wage?
Right.
It's $15 an hour. I was like, I think I worked for like $3.75.
Yeah.
Like, and I was just like, $15 an hour. Not that I'm opposed to paying it, but it was just like such a
sticker shock. Yeah.
I have not made minimum wage in a long time, but I was like $15 an hour. That's like 2 Starbucks coffees if you get the fancy ones,
And think the receptionists, the CSRs or, account managers, what they made 15, 20 years ago.
I know. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, this is kid's like, he's in high school. He's like 15, right? He's stuffing boxes, making $15 an hour. So like doing the math, I'm like a non-licensed service person who's answering phone calls, documenting, handling payments. Like that's gotta be, a good 25-30% above Rhode Island. And I know Rhode Island's more expensive. There are some states that are still like $7 or $8 an hour. So other people might have fallen off their chair too.
New York's not one of them.
Yeah. Are you guys higher or lower? What's your...
I think we're up to like either 15.75 or 16.
Yeah.
I mean, it's around
I was
there.
like, it pays to be a kid today, man. I'm like, geez, like I can get the new Nikes in 1 week. Like, we'll be good. Like,
well, think about even just like babysitters, for my kids, or if somebody needs it, it's like, what did they make and to come over an hour? $20 an hour? And it's like, they just came for a 3-hour dinner. They made $60 in cash. It's like, wait, what is that?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think about that because like I babysat for this one family, and every time they ended up having 4 kids. Every time they had a kid, they give me like an extra $1 an hour, and I was like, psyched. I'm like, this is amazing, greatest job ever.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, like, wow. And then what does a tooth fairy pay? Like, I have so many conversion questions.
Yeah. Oh, it's that inflation rate is astronomical. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, Mike. I do have to scoot to another meeting, but thank you so much for your insight and your impact on the agency. And I think it's just so cool that there's so much more energy coming in. I think people, like, we had COVID, we had the hard market. Like, I am so psyched for the end of this year to be like, let's go. Like those were things that it was very difficult to run businesses in because you just didn't know what you were doing. There was no rhythm. Yeah. I can't wait till we just get back into like a normal pace of everything that is about just pushing ahead. So
I'm super excited for it because I think, like you said, the people that actually tried to make these steps and figure all this stuff out during these last 5 years are the ones that are ready to go.
Yeah.
And the ones that aren't are still confused, that's where you got to start doing some research.
He'll buy you. That's what we'll say.
Call me, I'll buy you, or call Kelly and you'll get the training you need. And that's the key right there. So no, Kelly, great catching up with you. Always appreciate you and all the stuff
We'll
you
have
guys
to catch
do.
up in person soon.
Can't wait.
All right. Thank you.